Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Samasta Jan Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena gratitam Purana Muninam Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritavarshinim Bhagavati Ashtadashadhyayani Amba Tvam Anusandadami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshini Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavai Vedai Sangha Padakramopanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yantam Navidu Sura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. My humble pranams to you all. So today we will be finishing the 14th chapter. And at the end, if we have some time, I'll try to summarize the entire 14th chapter verse by verse. Verse by verse, I'll try to summarize the whole 14th chapter. And then next week, we will start this beautiful chapter called Purushottam Yoga, which is the Lord talking about his own nature directly from him. So in this 14th chapter, we had seen the various gunas, which I will cover at the end. But Bhagavan answers Arjuna's 3 questions after Arjuna having heard about Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, how it works, what are its advantages, how it guides our thinking, our actions, and how one should go from tamas to rajas and rajas to sattva. But Arjuna has heard from Bhagavan Shri Krishna about this man of wisdom. In earlier chapters, he has been called yogi, has been called sthita prajna, has been called various adjectives for this person of wisdom. So here Arjuna wants to know, how can I go beyond gunas? Kai lingai strin gunan etan atito bhavati prabho ke machara kathans chaitan trin gunan ati vartate. How can I recognize a man of wisdom? Not that he wants to judge others, it's not that, but how can I see a person of wisdom who is functioning in the world like you and me, but he or she seems to be beyond all this bondage of Prakriti. And Kim Achar. Achar does not mean what pickle does he use, but Achar means what is his conduct. How does he function in the world? Kim Achar Katham cha aitam teen guna nati vartate. And Arjuna asks one more question, which he has not asked below. Which he has not asked before, is how can I go beyond those three gunas, or how can we all go? Because that is the goal of life, that one should become enlightened, become one with that totality. That can only happen if we go beyond these three gunas, because these three gunas of Prakriti bind us, catch us. And it is good to stay in sattva, but ultimately one should be in that totality, which is even beyond sattva. And that is the goal of life. So Arjuna wants to, and for all of us, he's asking Bhagwan, how can one go beyond these gunas? And how can I recognize this man of wisdom? So Linga Bhagwan had said in the 22nd shloka, prakasham cha pravrittim cha mohameva cha pandava Madveshti sampravrittani na nivrittani kankshati. Even when sattva, rajas, and tamas are there, prakasha is sattva, pravritti, rajas, and then tamas is there, moha, he does not get attracted to one and want others to go away. Oh, I'm in sattva, why is rajas coming? Why is tamas coming? He knows that in his life, all these three gunas will play, but he understand, like at night when he has to sleep, he needs tamas. In the daytime when he has to work, this wise person, maybe head of a mission or acharya, and he's giving talks, he needs to use rajas, but his all activities are guided by sattva. So that was the first shloka. What is the linga? What is the symbol? How can we recognize a man of wisdom? And such a person remains equanimous. So the next three shlokas, 23, 24, 25, I was reading somewhere that if you want moksha, these three shlokas you must bring in your life. You must understand, if possible, memorize. Even if you can't memorize, bring these three shlokas in our conduct. Kim achar, how does this person conduct himself or herself in this world? So later on, when you have time, please read those three shlokas. Don't read them now. Don't read them now. And the reason I'm saying is so that this is something like your homework. That read these three shlokas, and where do I fit in these? In these 23, 24, 25. I should have said it at the end because everybody is reading. But the idea is don't read now, but read them at the end and apply them. So in 23, he says, Udasin vad asina gunar yona vichalyate guna guneshu vartante ityeva na yo vatisthati nengate. So he stays udasin what above because he has gone beyond. And so he says, yes, guna will function with gunas, but he does not get moved from his state of wisdom. Udasin means he has gone above this bondage of these gunas. And then in the shloka number 24, which Bhagwan has said in many places, in second chapter and many other places, Sukha Dukha Sama Sukha Dukha Swasthaha Sama Loshtashma Kanchana Tulya Priya Priyo Dhiraha Tulya Mitra Tulya Nindatma Samstutihi. So this person knows that in life I will have problems. Some people will love me, some people will hate me, there will be joy, there will be sorrow, there will be heat, cold, physical discomforts. And he does not get involved in his own praise, but he knows somebody will praise me, somebody will criticize me, but he remains tulya, he remains balanced. And then Bhagwan gives a very beautiful thing, Sama Loshta Ashma Kanchana. For him, piece of mud, stone, and gold are the same because he does not give excessive importance. He knows mud has its own use, stone has its own use, gold has its own use, but he does not get excessively caught in any of those, but remains unaffected because his mind is always with God, always with that totality. So today we will do the shloka number 25, which talks further more about the conduct, achara, of this man of wisdom. And then in shloka number 26, Bhagwan will answer Arjuna's third question. How can I go beyond these gunas? Ati vartate. So katham, how can I go beyond these gunas? So this will be answered in the 26th. And then 26th will be kind of a description of who Brahman is. What is Brahman? We always want to know. So that is how we will cover. So 25th is again talking about the conduct of the man of wisdom, achara. Manapamanayostulyah.
Mana apamanayostulyah.
Tulyo mitraripakshayoho.
Tulyo mitraripakshayoho.
Sarvarambha parityagi.
Sarvarambha parityagi.
Gunatita sa uchyate.
Gunatitasya uchyate.
Together, you can please mute. Manapamanayostulyah. Tulyo mitraripakshayoho. Sarvarambha parityagi. Gunatita sa uchyate. So gunatitaha sa uchyate. He, yeah, of course, here he does not mean only he, means that person, could be he or she. Uchyate is said to be gunatita. It is the passive voice. He is said by who? By all the wise people. Bhagavan says not only by me, but all the wise rishis, the wise masters of the Vedas, all call this person Gunatit, who has gone. Atit means who has gone beyond these gunas. Guna atit. Atita means beyond. Atita does not mean past. Here it means beyond. So gunatitaha sa uchyate. This saha, this person is said to be gunatitaha. Who is that? Mana apamana yoho. So this is the sixth case. Man apmana yoho, of this honor and dishonor in these two, or it can also be the seventh case, yoho, of these two, mana apmana. Mana is honor, apman is dishonor. Of these two, tulyaha, he is balanced. He is balanced in these two. Mana apmana, somebody praises me, somebody criticizes me. Somebody honors me, somebody dishonors me. Tulya, he is balanced. He is the same. Tulya mitra ari pakshayoho. So even somebody says you are my friend, or somebody says you are my enemy, he is tulya. He is the same among both the sides. If somebody is calling him a friend, paksha means side. So one side somebody says friend, other side somebody says enemy. Among those two, again it is the dvivachan, mitra ari pakshayoho. Among those two, he is the tulya. He is the same. He is balanced. And then sarva arambha parityagi. Bhagavan had used that in the 6th chapter also. Sarva arambha parityagi. Sarva arambha, all beginnings, parityagi. Parityagi means completely he gives up all beginnings. You mean he doesn't do anything, doesn't begin anything? Yes, Bhagavan says, sarva arambha parityagi, completely who has given up all beginnings, all undertakings. Such a person is said to be gunatitaha. So, mana apamana. Now, honor and dishonor is to who? Ego. This wise person says, who are they honoring? My ego, right? If somebody honors you, our ego boosts up. Somebody says, no, wow, I love what you do. I love your sari, or I love how you spoke. Immediately our ego gets boosted. Wow, I'm so good. And then somebody says, I didn't enjoy your talk at all. You were useless. Then I feel bad. Arey yaar, what happened? How come I have? So we get boosted when somebody praises us, and we get down when somebody criticizes. It could be your sari, it could be your house. Your house is in a useless place, or you need to change the decor, or your car, or anything. So when people praise us, we get happy, and when somebody criticizes, get unhappy. You're cooking, your food was useless, immediately my mind gets disturbed. So small things get us so upset. Why? Because we are caught in the ego, that my identity is that I am this person, I am this speaker, or I am this cook, or I am this woman, or I am this man, or I am this is my house, this is my child. Or somebody says, your child is a total failure. Immediately we get depressed. Why? Because I have so much identification. So because our ego gets identified with it, we get limitations. See, we get limited, that this is all I am, me, myself, my family, my house, my profession, my job, that's it. We don't think beyond that. But a wise person has gone beyond all limitations of ego. You look at the life of Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda. In his 43 years, how much work he did. He traveled throughout. Even despite his poor health, he never stopped. And because of one wise person's effort, hundreds of study groups are going on like that. There are 300 centers. Everywhere there are, acharyas, there are study groups and Sanskrit classes and chanting class. And a lot of social work is going on. We are doing fundraising for CORD, Chinmaya Organization for Rural Development. And so much work is going on. They are building a university, a school, a college, a hospital. So because of one person who went beyond his ego and decided that my life is going to be devoted to service. And because of that, you and I have benefited. So many books, videos, talks, so many acharyas he has trained, Swami Ishwarananda, Swami Tejomayananda ji, Vimal Chaitan, all of these people, Padmaja, all of you listen to all of these speakers, and all are because of one master who decided to leave the Himalayas. He could have stayed there with his guru and gone into samadhi, but he said, no, my job is to spread this knowledge. So we should always be grateful to him. It is because of his effort that you and I are doing anything. So he is the same, whether there is joy or sorrow, whether there is praise or criticism. You said, is he like a pajama personality? They say pajama personality, idhar chalta rehta. No, white pajama that men wear loose. Kabhi idhar jata hai, kabhi udhar jata hai, has no strength, has no, what do you call it? No, he's not that he's a pajama personality. Somebody praises, he goes here. Somebody criticizes, he doesn't care. What he understands, that all these gunas belong to Prakriti, but I am that Purusha, I am that supreme conscious. And in Prakriti, these things will happen, but he has gone beyond Prakriti. He has even gone beyond Purusha, identified with that total Brahman. And what happens, how does this person live without separateness? He doesn't consider himself separate. He has no self-will. He's not doing things for himself. He sees the oneness. And his life is filled with patience, love, forgiveness. Because he says, when I am loving somebody or forgiving somebody, it is me, myself. I alone am in all of these. So there is no separateness. I heard a most beautiful and a touching story. It's very, very powerful. I'll repeat it for you. So there was this lady, she was about 55 or so, and she had a young son who was in his 20s. And just the two of them were living together in a small house at the corner of the village near a forest. They were not very rich. Her husband had passed away. And they somehow managed doing some odd jobs and all. And one day the mother got sick. She had a cold and a flu, and she tells her son that, at the edge of the forest, there is a Lodra vriksha, a tree called Lodra. And the bark, the bark is that outer layer of the trunk. When you remove that bark and you boil it in hot water, it will take care of my cold. So son, can you please go and cut off the bark and bring it? So the son went, cut off the bark, brought it, and she boiled it in water and she drank the water and she got well. 2, 3 days later, she was washing the clothes and she sees the boy's shirt stained with red. So she calls him. She says, come here. How did your shirt get red, this white shirt? He doesn't say anything. He says, tell me, wow, how did your shirt get red? What happened? He says, mother, I felt that when I was cutting the bark of the tree, how much pain the tree must be having. So I said, let me try it myself. So I cut a piece of my skin and I shaved it, and I wanted to experience the pain that the tree was having. And that is why the blood came. And then, of course, I covered it. And that mother's eyes filled with tears of joy. And she embraced him lovingly. She said, wow, what a son, what a man. Think about it. Do we ever think about how much, what if we cause pain, how much? So this is the wisdom of this man of this man who is enlightened, who sees no difference, oneness among all. There is nobody else except me. If anybody else is hurting, I should hurt the same. That idea. And and everybody's joy, he gets joyful. In everybody's sorrow, does not mean he gets overwhelmed with that, because he stays in that, but he has compassion. So compassion, love, forgiveness are the criteria of this person. And this can happen not only among people, can also happen among countries, as we are seeing the violence in Ukraine. But America is not any better. We did the same thing to Iraq. We invaded Iraq for no reason and destroyed that country. We also bombed it. So we are not any superior to Putin. We might think we are. When we bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, President Truman said that I want to get even with Japan. So the point is that in politics also the same thing happens. I am superior, you are inferior. So that is the problem in the world today, that we don't see oneness. We don't see me and you. We see a separate, and if I can conquer you, I'll be better. So it can happen at the individual level, can happen at the family level. There can be conflicts at the family, in society, country, even the whole world. So that is the man of wisdom who does not see any difference. Then it says Sarva Rambha Parityagi. He does not begin any undertaking. The idea is that he does not have any kartritva bhava, that I am doing it. He said everything is happening because of God. I don't begin anything, because whatever has happened, he is doing it. He is working through me. And even if he has begun something, there are so many other people who have participated in it. Even if he starts a new factory, my teachers who taught me, my parents who taught me, and then my professors who gave me the knowledge of computers, that I could start a factory making hardware. And then the people who helped me, the architects, the builders, the workers who are working. So he does not have any doership, because he does not have any personal desire that I am the doer. Because after kartritva comes bhoktritva, that I did it, so I should get the joy of it. I should get the benefit. Why should I share with anybody else? So his life is a life of constant sharing, constant love, constant oneness. And for him, joy, sorrow, heat, and cold, he knows they will come. He accepts them. Not that if there is cold, he won't wear a sweater, but he understands that cold belongs to the body, and health and ill health all belong to the body. We'll talk about old age a little bit in the later shloka today. But whatever changes come in his life, this person, this man of wisdom, is always established in his wisdom, and he has attained that moksha that you and I need to put our efforts to attain that same stage of enlightenment, to become one with God. And how shall we do that? How can I always think about God? People say it is very difficult. In the morning, I understand when I'm doing puja, but when I'm so busy working, I forget about you. Oh Krishna, Bhagwan, I forget about you and I can't remember you all the time. And I get so busy and I get so exhausted and I get so tired. How can I always remember you? And how can I become like this man of wisdom, who is the same in joy and sorrow, heat and cold, and who has gone beyond all of these? And as we said, how he functions, udasinvat, as though indifferent. He is indifferent when things happen to his body, but he is compassionate when things happen to others. We are the other way around. If something happens to me, oh, I'm having such a bad headache and my flu is so bad, and another person, has some family member in the hospital, and then we give him lecture, it is all karma and that is prarabdha and this and that. But when it happens to me, then it's not prarabdha, then it is suffering. So we are the opposite. But the man of wisdom is indifferent to his problems, but is compassionate to others' problems. So these last three shlokas, 23, 24, 25, talk about conduct, achara. Now in the shloka number 26, Bhagwan Sri Krishna tells us in one shloka, but lot of meaning in this shloka, lot of power in this shloka. It's like a power-packed pellet, how practically we should go beyond these three gunas. So we'll do shloka number 26. Mam cha vyabhicharena
Mancha yogya vicharena
bhakti yogena sevate
bhakti yogena sevate
sagunan samatityaitan
sagunan janasti tethyam
brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
Together. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Beautiful shloka. So Mam, so here Bhagwan says to me. When Bhagwan says to me, he does not only mean that Sri Krishna who plays the flute and who is the teacher of the Bhagavad Gita, but me, the total self, the total consciousness. So Bhagwan identifies himself with that total consciousness, Brahman. So Mam, when he says me, he means to that total, and which is also the self of all of us. Again, self does not mean there is Brahman and Sri Krishna, but myself is also. Sri Krishna is in me, the self, Lord Shiva, Brahman, whatever you want to call. But Mam means that self, which is the self of all, not only all humans, but birds, plants, animals, fish, everything is that one self. And that alone is real. That alone is permanent. All the rest of it is temporary. So Mam cha yaha. Yaha means this person, whoever that person may be, male, female, young, old. Avyabhicharena. Vyabhichara means one who gives himself to everything, all others, everything else. But he says that person wants me and me alone and nothing else. Nothing else. Avyabhicharena. And bhakti yogena, with bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga, Bhagavan had talked in detail in the 12th chapter, but he is reminding Arjuna that this bhakti yoga that I had talked to you about, that is what you need to practice. And we'll cover that in brief. Sevate means he worships me, he serves me with complete, undivided, single-pointed devotion and love and service. So everything has come in it. Karma yoga has come, bhakti yoga has come. And then Jnana Yoga will come in the next line. Sagunan Samatit Sama. Clearly he has Atitya. Atitya means having gone beyond. Ahuya, like we do in the Lyap Pratyaya. So Atitya, having gone beyond. Sama means completely. Clearly he has gone beyond. Etan, because beyond these gunas. Etan is the plural. Etat, ete, etan. So these gunas, etat means this. So these three gunas, he has completely transcended those, because these gunas all belong to the mind. You know, this mind, when it is sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic, then this person does sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic actions, but he has gone beyond the mind. He has transcended the mind. And then what happens to him? Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. He kalpate means he becomes fit for, worthy for becoming Brahman. Becoming Brahman does not mean that I am not Brahman. Even now, you and I are Brahman, but we don't know it, we don't experience it, we don't practice it, we don't live it. So when Bhagavan Sri Krishna says Brahma Bhuyaya, he is fit for becoming Brahman. What he means is he is fit for understanding that I am Brahman, and he lives with that idea. So avyabhichara means that devotion which is ananya, means no other. See, for us, our love for God is diluted. As I've said before, I love God, and then I love my child, and then I love my house, and then I love my bank balance, and then I love my dog. That's very important. And then I love my, whatever, my car, all those things we add, my furniture, my house, my cookery, everything we add, my clothes, and also I love God. So I love God, no question. Yeah, I love him. But there are 20 other things, and he's number 21. So Bhagavan says, put me number one. In fact, put me as the only number. That you alone I love. Yes, all the other things, not that I have to leave everything and put on orange clothes and go to the forest. But my goal in life should be Bhagavan. Am I making him my number one priority or not? And that has to be. That now, from now on, my number one goal in life is to reach God. Yes, I will do all my other work and everything I need, but I want God alone. And then why do I want God? So we say, you know what? I love God so that he may give me something. I love God. Oh, I love God. I love you, God. But can you please make sure she loves me? Somebody wants to marry somebody. She's saying, no, God, can you please make sure she says yes? So you're loving God so that this girl loves you back. Or I'm loving you, God, stock market is down. Can you please make sure stock market goes up? With the war now, all my mutual funds are down. So we are praying to God for something else, or I'm sick, or not that one shouldn't pray to God for things, but do not only pray to God when you need something and you say, I pray to you because I love you and I want you. That's it, full stop. I don't want God to get me something else. I want God to come to me. He says, Mujhe darshan do, come to me, become one with me. So prayer ends there. Not that again, and also when we do prayer, if you do pray for thing, pray for all. That's another thing I heard. We say sarve bhavantu sukhina. So when you sit in front of God in the puja room, you can say, yes, may everything go well with me, my family, but then add, oh God, please make sure everything goes well in the world. So offer your prayers, and prayers do have an effect. So when you pray for all. May everybody be happy. May everybody be free from disease. We say sarve bhavantu sukhina, but we say it mechanically. I'm also guilty of that. But when you say that, you say, may everybody be happy. May everybody be free from disease. May everybody have good health. May nobody suffer. So all his other things are subordinate to his one goal of reaching. And that is very important, that has to become superior to all my other goals, but that requires discipline. See, one has to constantly put effort in this direction. And we find in the world also, person studying to become a doctor or engineer or lawyer or dentist or pharmacist or whatever we do, we put effort, right? We put years of effort to graduate. I was reading about, it's an old story, but Nureyev, who was the greatest ballet dancer ever in history, Rudolf Nureyev, and he used to dance effortlessly on the stage, and he had this Margot Fontaine, who was his partner, and the two of them, she and he, were beautiful. Effortlessly they used to move on the stage. But when you talk to them, you say, how do you do that? They say, it is years of effort. She says, we dance so much that our feet start bleeding and our feet hurt. And so years of hard effort is put in to do a ballet. So there we are okay, but we are not ready to put effort. We say, I have been coming to Gita class and studying for 6 months. Nothing has happened. I still haven't had enlightenment. Light has not shone. I don't see. It takes years of effort, but one has to start somewhere and do it constantly. And when we say devotion, what it means is love, that I love God and I develop a relationship of love. We have talked about many times, a relationship of love. God is my friend, or God is my beloved, or God is a loving master, or God is my child. People love God is my husband. So a relationship of love we have to develop with God. And how do we remember God constantly? Gurudev says it beautifully in his commentary. He says, every action of his, is his worship. So when he is working in the world, he is working for God. When mother is cooking in the kitchen, she is cooking for God, because God is in my husband, my children. When I'm working in my profession, when whatever I'm doing, when you're walking outside, you see God everywhere. So his every action becomes service of God, with that clear understanding that everything I see is God and God alone. And also they say that slowly he transforms his activities from tamas to rajas, from laziness to activity. But rajas could be selfish activity, but then from rajas he goes to sattva, where all activities are done with that right understanding, that with purity, with knowledge, with right understanding. And ultimately, with God's grace, he is able to transcend the guna. So what we can do, we can put our maximum effort to come to the point which is called Savikalpa Samadhi, where I still see God, or I still experience God's presence, and I am meditating upon God, and I am serving God, I am working for God. And the final step, God then pulls us to him. So that is called Brahma Bhuyaya. To become Brahman is to know that I am Brahman, but that final experience, it is said, it is God's grace. And we have to put our effort and then wait for God's grace, and God's grace will come. That's why Satya Dharmaya Drishtaya, we just heard in the Ishavasya Upanishad, the devotee says, oh God, I have put my effort. Now I am waiting. Now it is your job to lift me, to remove this veil of ignorance. Hiranmayena patrena, we just heard Satyasya Mukham. So he says, O Sun God, O that Supreme Consciousness who has manifested in the Sun, I have done my homework. I have done my part. Now it is your job to lift me up. So for that, one has to have a clear understanding and ask the right questions. That's why Kasya Tvam Kaha Kuta Ayata Tatvam Chintaya Tadiha Bhrata in Bhaj Govindam Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji says, who are you? From where have you come? Why are you on this earth? And what is the essence of these teachings? Oh, brother, please understand. So ask these questions to yourself, ask these questions to your guru, that who am I? From where have I come? And what is my purpose? So people say, I'm looking for a purpose in my life. So whole life we spend in looking for the purpose of my life. What is the purpose of my life? To look for the purpose of my life. No, I have already found the purpose of the life. Bhagwan has already told us in the Bhagavad Gita. Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda has already given the commentaries. So ask the right questions, then you will get the right answers. Talking about asking right questions, this man goes into this small hardware store and he sees this dog there. So the owner of the store is standing behind the counter and he asks the owner, does your dog bite? Owner says, no, my dog doesn't bite. So he pets the dog and the dog growls, bites him hard, and he gets this big cut in his hand. And he gets mad at the owner. He said, you told me your dog doesn't bite. He said, yeah, that's not my dog. My dog is home. So you have to ask the right question. So, so the point is that when you go to the teacher, your knowledge should be doubtless. If you have doubts, yeah, Bhagavan has said in the Gita, but I'm not sure, I don't think it is practical. Guruji says in that Vedanta Madhurya, this knowledge is not practical, it's only meant for sannyasis. That means you are still in tamas. If you have doubt about these teachings, or you say, yeah, it's written in the Upanishads, but, I don't agree with it. So your first step should be, at least I feel, that you have total faith in the Upanishads, total faith in the Bhagavad Gita. If it is written there, it is more than 100% correct, it's 200, 300% correct. So you totally accept it with Shraddha. Now, I may not understand it, what is written in the Upanishads, what is written in the... So I don't say I don't agree with it. I say I don't understand it, and I need a guru to explain to me what is the essence of that. So doubtless knowledge can only come with regular study, regular and clear understanding, thinking about it, and if there are doubts, ask the teacher. So that is called doubtless. And so that is tamas. If you have doubts in the teachings, forget it. Then you are not even on the first step. So never doubt what is in the Gita, what is in the Upanishads. Never question. I don't understand it. And so I need to reach that level of the rishi or reach the level of the teacher. If you think the teacher is wrong or this rishi is wrong or the Gita is wrong, then you are out. You don't even step into this hall of Vedanta. So this is called avyabhicharena bhakti, total devotion to God and total service to God. So we have the man of wisdom, how he conducts himself, how to reach. He says, have total devotion to me, work for me, and have the doubtless knowledge. So bhakti, jnana, and karma, all three are covered in one shloka. That's Bhagwan's glory, that he is able to summarize the entire Bhagavad Gita in one shloka of number 26. Now, number 27 is full of knowledge, the path of wisdom, path of knowledge, where what is this Brahman? He says, Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So people may ask, what is this Brahman, Bhagwan, you keep mentioning? So Bhagwan said, I have told you before, but I will tell you again who is this Brahman. So shloka number 27. Brahmano hi pratisthaham.
Brahmano hi pratisthaham.
Amritasya vyayasya cha.
Amrutasyam vivasya cha.
Shashvatasya cha dharmasya.
Sasvatasya dharmasya.
Sukhasya cha.
Sukhasya ikantikasya cha.
Together. Brahmano hi pratisthaham. Amritasya vyayasya cha. Shashvatasya cha dharmasya. Sukhasya cha. So Bhagavan says, I. Again, I, when he means, he's talking about the totality. Brahmano hi pratisthaham. I am the substratum of Brahman. He said, wait a minute, Bhagwan, didn't you say Brahman is the substratum of all? Now, how are you saying you are substratum of Brahman? I don't understand this. See, again, it's these teachings sometimes are very
Subtle.
mystical, very subtle, and they need thinking. You don't dismiss right away, it doesn't make sense. No, he said, I am the abode of Brahman. And who am I? And who is this Brahman? Amritasya. I am the abode of Amrita, immortality. Avyayasya cha, that which is unchanging. Avyayam. Avyayam, that is changing. Of Avyaya, of Amrita, I am the abode, Bhagavan says. And then he says, I am the abode of Shashvatasya cha dharmasya, of Shashvata dharma. So that dharma which is Shashvat, which is eternal. And what is dharma? It comes from Dri Dhatu. Dharma is that which upholds everything, supports everything. So I am the abode of all of these. And Sukhasya Ekantikasya, just one total unconditioned bliss, I am. So I am that which is one alone. That is Advaita, that one alone, Brahman, that I am. And that is Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So we say Bhagavan Sri Krishna is a direct manifestation of that Supreme Brahman who walked on this earth in a human form. That's why we worship Bhagavan, because it is that Supreme Brahman who has manifested. So he says, Brahman nohi pratisthaham. So I am, what it means is that I and Brahman are not separate. I as Brahman am the pratishtha, I am the substratum of this whole universe. So our biggest problem in this life is old age, right? Because as soon as they say, as soon as you are born, that clock starts ticking, right? Your date of death is already decided. Okay, this person will live this many years, and slowly the clock is ticking, and I'm getting older, and I'm getting weaker, and my body gets tired, and my joints ache. And that is inevitable. That is going to happen to all of us, inevitably. But one who understands that I am Brahman, I am Krishna, I am Shiva, Shivoham, Shivoham, we chant, Shivoham, Shivoham, or Brahmanoham, I am Brahman, that Krishna and I are not separate. Then Bhagavan says, he comes to my consciousness. He becomes one with me. He becomes Brahman too, he or she. So what we have to understand that Brahman is one alone, Advaita. There are no two, there is one alone. This universe is an expression, is a natak, is a play upon that consciousness, but I am the substratum. So what I try to do sometimes, when I'm in the gym and when there's music going on and there are 20 TVs, what I do is I close my eyes and say, in me, all these 20 TVs are playing, and this loud music is coming from me, and all these machines are me, and all the exercisers are me. So even my gym, becomes meditative, because then I look forward, because I'm not able to, but I try to connect with that conscious. Or when you're walking on the street, going for a walk, you say, they are all me, they are not separate from me. So that is trying to live in that consciousness, Krishna consciousness, what they call, the Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, they say living in Krishna consciousness is to understand that Krishna alone is everybody, or Shiva alone is everyone. So that understanding is called living in that my consciousness. And then such a person merges in me, just as a river merges into the ocean and loses her identity. So this individual merges does not mean he becomes useless, but he becomes an instrument of God, which we have seen in these lives of these masters. And I have talked about Saint Teresa, but I'll just briefly mention, she was born in a very wealthy house. And she said, I want permanent, what is permanent, not temporary. And her parents were opposed, but she became a nun at age 20. And for next 25 years, she lived a life of extreme poverty. Even comforts that the nuns have, she wouldn't have. And her mind was always on Jesus, contemplating, meditating. And she saw Jesus many times. And ultimately, she went into samadhi. So 25 years of sustained effort she put from age 20 to age 25, about 20 to 25 years before she merged. So that should not discourage us. Not that, oh, how am I going to spend? The idea is that that should become my goal and that should become my main purpose. So just as when a person wakes up from a dream and becomes the waker, so from the waking state, you wake up to the what's called as the Turiya state, the state of Brahmanhood, the state of consciousness. And that is the person of wisdom who has woken up. It's not that Brahman, I have to go somewhere or do something. I have to wake up to that Brahman that I am. That's what Bhagavan says. I am the abode of Brahman. I am the abode of all of these. And now we'll talk about the qualities of Brahman. Bhagavan has very briefly mentioned. Amritasya means immortality. Immortality does not mean that this body doesn't perish. Bhagavan Krishna also dropped his body after his work was done. So what it means is I understand that I am immortal. I am that immortal consciousness. This body is bound to drop. Amritasya avyayam. Avyayam means immutable, changeless. In me, there are no changes. Childhood, middle age, old age, everything will come. But I am changeless. I am that changeless self. That is the understanding of this person of wisdom. And Shashvata, eternal, I always was. That's why Bhagavan says, Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipaha. So there was never a time when you and I were not there, and these kings. We have always been there. We are here. Na chaiva bhavishyamaha sarve atah param. So in the future also, you and I will always exist. This body will perish. So Bhagavan says in the second chapter itself, tells Arjuna that you are immortal. So, and dharma means all this foundation of this society is built on dharma. And Bhagavan said, dharma I am. I am in the spiritual texts. I am in the all the teachings of the Vedas, the Upanishads, and I am the Dhri. I am this supporter of this whole universe through dharma, through right conduct. That is who I am, Bhagavan says. And I am the one which is the supreme bliss. So becoming one with me, you will experience the supreme bliss. What you and I experience is a temporary bliss. If I eat ice cream, I get bliss, or if I have pizza, I get bliss, or if I get something new, I get bliss, or somebody praises me, I get, happiness, not bliss. I get happiness, I get pleasure. But Bhagavan says, when you become one with me, you go beyond happiness, you go beyond pleasure. You experience that total, undivided, indestructible bliss. That is my true nature. That's why Bhagavan is called Sat Chit Anand. Sat means ever existing. Chit means all knowing. And Anand means ever blissful. And that I am, and you can also experience that. And then Gurudev in his commentary has talked about Shankaracharya ji describing this total consciousness in three ways. One is the self of all, the life principle within. That is one, and that is the self of all, everything, even the inert objects are that Brahman alone. Even my shoes, even my house, my table, chair, everything is Brahman and Brahman alone. Char and achara is said in many places. Bhagavan says, charachara, moving and unmoving, are all an expression of that oneself. Then the second meaning Gurudev says is he is Ishvara. Ishvara means the creator of the universe. So Brahman functioning through Maya attains the role of Ishvara, takes up the role of Ishvara, and creates this whole world, just as you and I take up different roles as father or as mother or as child or as brother or sister or worker or whatever I am doing, housewife, whatever roles I'm taking, so that supreme consciousness takes up the role of Ishvara. That is the second meaning of this Brahman. And the third one is, it is the Purusha and Prakriti, the matter and the spirit. That one spirit functioning through matter makes this you and me. So we are a combination of Purusha and Prakriti, matter and spirit. So that Purusha also is Brahman. So Brahman is that one totality. Brahman is the Ishvara, the creator. And Brahman is that which has made this body and all bodies. Purusha and Prakriti together. Purusha Prakriti stohi bhungte Prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangosya sadasad yoni jarmasu. So Bhagavan had said in the 13th chapter that Purusha and Prakriti together is the cause of this whole universe. So such a person's life becomes an investment, but not for himself, for all. Because when this person works, his life is a blessing to all, his life of service to all, forgiveness, and this investment has never stops giving dividends, keeps growing, never gets less. That's why these wise masters, Puja Gurudev, he took Mahasamadhi in 1993, but Chinmaya mission continues to grow. Buddha had a few hundred disciples when he dropped his body. We have 1 billion. Look at Jesus, again had a few followers. Now there are 1 billion Christians. So these masters, their work is an investment for all. And this investment keeps growing, it never goes down. Stock market may go down, but this master's work will never go down, never stop, because he's working for all. He's not working for himself. What am I going to get out of it? His idea is, what am I going to give? And that is the essence of this third shloka that Bhagavan says, that I am that Brahman and I am the immortal, immutable self. I am the support of this whole universe. I am eternal. And in me, when you become one with me, you will experience that supreme bliss. So today we heard about this person of wisdom. We heard about how to reach, how to become that, and then ultimately, what is the nature of Brahman. So what I'll try to do is in the next few minutes, just briefly cover all the shlokas of the 14th chapter, and then we can spend about 5 minutes at the end if we have time for questions. So Bhagavan starts the 14th chapter with Param Bhuya Pravakshyami Jnananam Jnanamuttamam. So he says, I will give you that supreme knowledge, Yat Jnatva Munaya Sarve Param Siddhim Ito Gataha. So getting this knowledge, you will reach that supreme state, because this knowledge of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas will prepare us for the 15th chapter. See, 14th is a preparation for 15th, because in 15th, there are very concrete steps and concrete ideas about who God is and what is creation. So 14th is a preparatory for 15th chapter. Yeah. So that's how the Jivatma becomes one with Paramatma. And then he says, Idam Jnanam, and having this knowledge, such people come to me and then they never perish. Why? Because they become immortal. And that's we see. No matter how many thousand years pass, we will never forget Buddha, we will never forget Jesus, we will never forget Puja Gurudev, we will never forget Swami Vivekananda, Mirabai, because they have become immortal. And then he says, I am the source of the creation. I am the one that when Prakriti is there, I am living. So, Tasmin Bija Pradamyaham. I put the Bija, I put in the life of consciousness. Prakriti itself is inert. You and I are inert. This body is inert. Even the mind and intellect is inert. It's only when the light of consciousness shines that we get life. So he says, I am, and all beings arise because of me, because of my presence as the life principle, the enlivening consciousness. And then he talked about, from fifth shloka onward, he talked about sattvam, raja, tama iti, guna, prakriti, sambhavaha. So prakriti is just nothing but these three gunas. And you and I, at the body level and the mind and intellect, are made of three gunas. So we are a mixture of sattva, rajas, and tamas. Sattva I mean, how are we mixture of the three? So it says from the up panchikrit pancha mahabhuta, the subtle aspects make the mind and intellect, the sattvic aspect. The rajasic aspect make the pranas and the instruments of action. And the tamasic aspect makes this gross body. So sattva is the knowledge and the mind and intellect. Rajas is action, the organs of action, and this gross body is tamas. So that is how we are all made of. And then he says sattva has more purity, more cleanliness, more light, wisdom, knowledge. And but what happens is we also get bound to sattva because I want this knowledge and I want my mind to be peaceful, and why my mind is not peaceful. So that also can bind. So he says, be careful. That does not mean that one should not stay in sattva, but one should not be bound with sattva, that if there is no sattvic activity, I am miserable. I know that there is sattva, sometimes there will be raja, sometimes there will be tamas. And rajo ragatmakam vidhi, in the seventh shloka, Bhagavan says, rajas is of attachment, of desire, of wanting, of karma. I must do it, I must get it, and that can result in selfish activity. And it can also become a bondage, I and mine, and I want more and more. And then in the eighth shloka, Bhagavan talks about tamas, how tamas is of the nature of ignorance, and it binds us by pramadaha, moha, alasya. So pramada means heedlessness, moha means delusion, and alasya means laziness. So tamasic person lives with these three attitudes. And then he talks about how this person, what does sattva do? So he says sattva takes us upward. And in a sattvic person, sarva dvareshu dehesmin prakasha upjayate. Sattvic person has the right knowledge. Does not mean that light is shining from him, but the light of knowledge, the light of wisdom, the right understanding is there in a sattvic person. But in a rajasic person, there is attitude of I am the doer, I am so great, I am doing so much. And then such a person's mind is ashama, is always disturbed. Why? Because priha, because he has excessive desire. And a tamasic person, of course, is not even worth talking about because he has no activity, aprakasho, apravrittischa, pramado, moha evacha. In the 13th shloka, Bhagavan says, this person's life is dull, there is no light, there is no knowledge, there is no activity. It is delusion. And then 14th, 15th shloka, Bhagavan says that one whose life is always lived in sattva, he goes to higher worlds. Even if he has not reached enlightenment, he goes to higher worlds. And then from there, I make sure his journey continues. In the 6th chapter, he says, I make sure they are born in the house of yogis or wise people where his journey continues. While a rajasic person, he again stays on this earth. He does a lot of selfish activity and he could go up or down. If he has done good activities, he may go up. If he has done bad activities, he could be born even in a lower yoni. And a tamasic person, of course, mudha yonishu jayate. He will be next life born as a buffalo or a hippo or somebody who sits and does nothing, So that will be his state. That is the 15th chapter. And then he talks about the result. He says that the person living in sattva, satvikam nirmalam phalam. His life is pure, his life is correct. And for a rajasic person, it is dukkham. He says, how is it dukkham? He may acquire a lot, but sooner or later he has to give it up. If not in now, at the time of death. So his excessive attachments to objects leads to sorrow. And tamasa, of course, is ajnanam. His result is ignorance. And urdhvam, and we talked about that sattvic person goes up, rajasic person stays same level, and tamasic person jaganya guna vritti sthaha adho gachanti tamasaha. So tamasic people go down. Not only in this life, their life is miserable, but even their future lives are miserable. And then from 19th shloka, Bhagwan gives us enough blows, enough dande mare, he has hit us enough with sticks. Now he says, now I will tell you how to get out of these gunas. So nanyam gunebhya kartaram yada drashta anupashyati gunebhyascha param veti mad bhavam saha adhigacchati. So this person, if you want to become one with me, see in the plane of gunas, in the activities of the gunas, there is the actionless self, drashta, and keep your attention even while activities are going on. His attention is always on the self, that consciousness which is unmoving, which is unfunctioning, and such a person goes beyond gunas, mad bhavam saha adhigacchati, he comes to me. And then once who has gone beyond the gunas, atitya trin janma mrityu jara dukkaihi vimukta. He says, yeah, that's very good. I want to be free of janma mrityu jara, old age, dukkha, sorrow, pain. I want to be free of all those. He says, yeah, you will become free of those when you realize that I am this immortal Brahman, and this body will go through its joys and sorrows. I take medicine, but I don't get my mind caught in that. My mind is always on Bhagwan. And so that is the shloka number 20, very beautiful shloka. And amritam ashnute, and he enjoys immortality. That's what Swami Vivekananda said. Immortality is your birthright. We all are actually immortal. It is our ignorance to think that I am dying, because I never die, because I was never born. I was never born. This body is born, and this body will die. Let it. I am not the body. Let it go. That's what we heard in the 17th shloka of the Ishavasya Upanishad. The man of wisdom just comfortably drops his body. He says, let my pranas merge with the pranas. Let my body be burned. But may I at the time of death remember you, God. Mana, remember, constantly remember. Smara, that is the man of wisdom. And then we talked about Arjuna's 3 questions, how to recognize and how to go beyond. And then we already covered that when there is light, darkness, activity, he does not get attached. He remains the same among joys and sorrows. So for his physical discomfort or mental discomfort, joy and sorrow, or intellectually honor and dishonor we talked about, or in the ego. So he's gone beyond the body, the mind, the ego is what? That this person likes me, this person doesn't like me, honor and dishonor. He goes beyond all of them when he has avyabhichari bhakti, total, uncompromising, undivided, single pointed, not diverting. That devotion to me and me alone is that person goes beyond gunas and becomes one with Brahman. Even right now, you and I are one with Brahman, but he understands and he brings that into his life. And that is the nature of Brahman. Bhagwan said that I am. And so here we'll end a very, very beautiful chapter. And this will be a stepping stone to the 15th chapter, which will tell us about, we'll do that. So this will tell us about who is this Purushottam, Uttam Purusha, Bhagavan says in the 15th chapter. So we'll chant the closing prayer, and then we can take 5 minutes if somebody has questions. Otherwise, we can end. So, we can chant Om Tat Saditi.
Om Tat Sat Iti
Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su
Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su
Upanishatsu
Upanishadsu
Brahma Vidyayam
Brahma Vidyayam
Yoga Shastre
Yoga Sastre
Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade
Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade
Gunatraya Vibhaga Yogo Nama
Gunatraya Vibhaga Yogo Nama
Chaturdasho Dhyayaha.
Chaturdashodhyayaha.
So I'll briefly translate this. Om Tat Sat. These are all God's names. Om, Tat means that, Sat means truth, existence. Iti in this way. In where? In Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su, in the very respected and revered Bhagavad Gita Su, which is nothing but the Upanishads. Upanishads themselves have manifested in the Bhagavad Gita. And what is the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita? Brahma Vidya. It is the highest knowledge of Brahman. And not only it is the knowledge, but it is also Yoga Shastra, how to practice this knowledge. So Bhagavan has not just given us knowledge, but given us how to apply that in our life. And where did this Bhagavad Gita appear? Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. It is the dialogue between the Lord and Arjuna. We are always grateful to Bhagavan and to Arjuna for this knowledge, Samvade. And what is this chapter called? Guna Traya Vibhaga Yoga. So it is the description and this differentiation between the three gunas. That is the name of this chapter. And it is Chaturdasha. It is the 14th chapter, Chaturdasha Adhyaya. We can take about 5 minutes if there's any questions. Lata, you have a question?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was going to turn your shabda other way around, but no, I'm not going to do that. But this one, it is through the power of Maya. This is the last page 72. And I'm reading, Sankara gives an alternative meaning to the verse. And you did touch base on that. It is through the power, Maya, inherent in Brahman as Ishvara. He shows grace to his devotees. I am that power in manifestation, and therefore Brahman am I. So, so the power of Maya is important to for us to recognize that Brahman. That's what Shankara is trying to say. Is that what Gurudev has interpreted?
Yeah, see, Bhagavan says, Devi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarankite. So this power of mine, Maya, is Devi, is divine, because I have given power to it. It is Bhagavan's power that is functioning through Maya. And that power was required to create the universe. So Maya, through power, attained from Brahman. Brahman taking on the role of Ishvara. When Brahman functions through Maya, it is called Ishvara. It is the same Brahman. It is called Ishvara. Ishvara is who? The Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, creator, sustainer, destroyer. So Maya has power, but it is borrowed power. And Maya actually has no real existence. It is a illusory entity, just as this whole world. Ma, Yaha. Yaha means that, Ma, which is not. So actually Maya has no independent existence. It borrows everything from Brahman and creates the world. So that was required to create all this infinite variety. So the goal of life is to Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. So give your life to Sri Krishna. Only that way you can go beyond Maya.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Arjunji, in shloka number 26, you explained how to
uplift yourself from tamas to rajas and rajas to sattvic. I just missed out how to uplift yourself from tamas to rajas.
Yeah.
Rajas, you dedicate all the activities to Ishvara, but how to uplift yourself from tamas?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So tamas means laziness. So instead of doing nothing, go out and work. You know, somebody who's sitting home on welfare doing nothing. He says, go out and work, get a job, you know, do something. So you start working, but rajas could be selfish activity. So from laziness, at least start working for yourself and your family. At least kuch to karo. So from doing nothing, you start doing something. And that is rajas, where I'm working for me, myself, my family, and I. And I'm trying to acquire, possess, that is good. But then from rajas, you slowly bring sattva, where I'm now working for
That I got
others
it.
and sharing others. So from laziness, you start doing nothing. From nothing, you start doing something.
Okay.
That's what one Mahatma said. Instead of sitting home, at least go rob a bank.
Yeah.
So point is not that is encouraged. Vivekananda said it's better at least go. That means at least in robbing a bank, at least you will put some effort. Not that he's saying one should rob a bank, but idea is do some selfish activity instead of sitting home and doing nothing. So that is does that answer your question?
I got it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we can do the arti. Om na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kuto yamagnihi tameva bhantamanubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. बोलिए श्री कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की जय. आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की दिव्य रूप मूर्ति करुणा की. आरती सद्गुरु की. चरणों में उनके शांति समाए. शरणागत की भ्रांति मिटाए. पाप ताप संताप हरण की. आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की. आरती सद्गुरु की. वेद उपनिषद गीता को गाया. धर्म सनातन फिर से जगाया. शुद्ध नीति प्रीति शंकर की. आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की. आरती सद्गुरु की. सिद्ध बाड़ी की तपो भूमि में नित्य विराजे गुरु हमारे. भक्त हृदय आनंद श्रोत्र की. आरती श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरु की. आरती सद्गुरु की. आरती सद्गुरु की. बोलिए श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. Everybody can please take the aarti. Thank you very much. We'll do the closing prayer. Kayena vacha manasendriyerva buddhyatmana va prakrite svabhavat karomi adyat sakalam parasmai narayanaayeti samarpayami. Narayanaayeti samarpayami. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramayah. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschid dukhabhag bhavet. Om asato ma satgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Hari Om.